Managing properties in Houston, Texas is hard work. Trust us, we know. My name is Greg Shannon,
I'm Steven Shannon.
and we're brothers and founders of Shannon Property Management here in Houston, Texas. Okay, so you've made the decision to rent out your property, and now you're trying to figure out whether you should manage the property yourself or hire a property manager. We're going to give you an unbiased opinion of how to decide and whether you should do it yourself or hire a professional property management company. So we're going to run through the life cycle of being a property manager. We're going to start today with make ready, which is getting your home ready for renters to come tour your property and to lease out your home.
There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, we've got a whole, pretty thorough checklist in our own make ready team. And we've done, I don't know, I guess we've done thousands of make readies at this point. And there's a lot to think about. Can you do this yourself? I guess, yeah, the theme of today is, can you do this yourself, or should you hire a property manager? It is certainly something that can be done. I mean, can you paint walls? Can you fix basic appliances, clean stoves, and do some of these things? Yeah, I think in general, it is something that can be done. There are a lot of details to be aware of. One thing about make readies that we found, if you don't do them right, there's implications for the rental market. People come and pick out little details that you hadn't thought of. So you got to just be detail oriented. So just ask yourself, how thorough and detailed can you be on doing this type of thing? And the second is, if you miss things and then someone moves in, so if it gets past the rental, they might come up as maintenance issues later. So those are kind of the two things to be aware of, and just reasons why you want to, if you're going to do your own make readies, you got to ask yourself, can I be very detailed and thorough? And people can do it. It takes some know-how and some attention to detail, I would say.
Yeah, and we have a minimum property standards sheet that you could find on our website that it will give you a guideline of how to get your home in order for it to be rent ready for a resident. And you could use multiple vendors to get your house ready: a plumber, electrician, a painter, whatever you need. Or there are some vendors that are just general handymen that should be able to handle that for you. That could take care of most of the items. Of course, you do need specialized vendors, whether for plumbing or electrical occasionally, but there are general contractors out in Houston that could help you with the full service of getting your home ready for rent.
Or hey, if you're thinking about managing it yourself, you might be a hands-on person. You just
Do it yourself.
do it yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously some of the things that might need licenses and things like that you don't want to do. But the general painting and touch-up painting and things like that, it is possible. But again, it is attention to detail and quality. And
Yeah.
so you just got to ask yourself, is that something you're comfortable with?
Yeah. You have a 4 burner stove is the back right. Do an inspection as well. Like make sure everything's working. And then once the house is ready, we could talk about the cleaning. So you alluded to making sure the oven's clean. You
That's
know,
right. The
you don't really
appliances.
think about the deep clean
No.
aspect when you're trying to attract new residents to move into your home.
The drawers.
The fridge, the
Yeah.
oven, the cabinet
You're right.
drawers, everything.
Everything. These things, sometimes it's easy to kind of gloss over. Yeah, it's clean. Does it look clean? It looks pretty good to me. And then someone starts moving in, or even like viewing it to think about moving in as a potential lease it. And man, they will point out a lot of these a lot of these things if you miss them. So yeah, definitely the cleaning after you do the painting and things like that is another. I think it comes down to attention to detail and just like kind of thinking into the future. Is this something that someone's going to pick out?
Yeah, next we're gonna get into the leasing and screening and finding a quality resident. But if you don't do a good job and a resident moves in and they're qualified, you're excited. The first 2, 3 months they'll bring up they'll create
Yeah.
a lot of work orders,
Yeah.
and then that's you going back to the property and handling it. So it's best to do it right the first
On the
time.
make ready. Yeah, like you said, we talk about that back right stove burner that you maybe lived in this house for 15 years and you never really needed that back right burner. So you didn't really, yeah, 3 out of the 4 work. It's not going to be necessarily good enough for them. They want all 4 burners to work. So,
Maybe
you
they're a
got to,
chef.
maybe their chef. You never know.
And of course, you could probably write into the lease like, okay, 3 of the burners are working, and the fourth one. But
We don't do
who
that.
wants to do
Yeah.
that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not fun for the resident. It's not
Right.
fun for you. It's just
So once it is ready and, it's all a bit, you put it on the market, or it's ready to go on the market. Now you gotta lease it out. So if you're gonna manage it yourself, obviously you could hire, there's kind of 3 routes you could do, on this one. You could hire a property manager. We are a licensed real estate brokerage, so we can, we have 9 realtors here. We will lease it out. You could also hire a realtor to do this portion of the property management
Just
for you,
leasing out the
just
property.
leasing it out because there's a reason they exist. I mean, it does take some know-how and some work, frankly. Or you could try to lease it out yourself. So we're kind of looking at people who are thinking about doing this all themselves. So, the question now is like, can you lease it out yourself? Or what does that take to do? And can you? Again, I think it is possible to do for sure. You can put it on Zillow and see what comes your way. Some of the things, yeah, there's just things
You,
that you're gonna have to
you
realize.
could take pretty good quality photos on your iPhone these days or Android, but that would probably be something worth spending some, $200 on a professional photographer who
Definitely.
could take really solid photos. There's tons of photography companies here in Houston. You might want to consider a Matterport 3D walkthrough of
Yeah.
your property for a little bit of additional money. Those are the things that you don't know how many people are going to be finding you on the websites that you're able to post it on as if you lease it out yourself. And you really want to catch their attention with those bright, nice photos.
Yeah,
And then
bright is a key word. I will just say if you are gonna lease it out yourself and if you were gonna even go the next step and take the photos yourself, open all the windows, turn on all the lights, close the closets. Take like 5 minutes before you take the. I mean, you can take pretty decent photos on your iPhone. I mean, that is true. But you want to prepare the house, so just open all the windows and things. We use professional photographers who don't use iPhones. They've got the whole setup. It can be done. Again, you just need to think it through and prepare the house.
and then coordinating the showings will be the next step.
So
So
yeah, you got the nice photos, you put it on a website
or two or
or
three,
2.
however
Yeah,
whatever you
make sure
define.
there should be some way to syndicate it out. I mean, there's a lot of websites. So we use a syndication service that blasts it out to, several dozen websites.
If you're not a
Uh,
realtor, you're going to be limited
right,
to some degree on that.
right. So that's one benefit of having a realtor, having a property manager. But yeah, so we're getting into okay. So now let's say we've got the make ready done. We've got nice photos. It's clean. We've put it on the market. You want to make sure to put it on as many websites as you can because, like, on the leasing front, it just takes one person. You just need the right person. So you got to make sure you're casting as wide of a net as possible, and you get that right person in the door. So you've got it on there. Now people want to come see it.
So a couple of questions you're going to want to ask yourself. Are you okay with having self-access showings? If so, I would recommend only allowing agents taking tours of your property, agents representing the clients, or are you going to be meeting every single showing at your house? Does that interrupt your workday? How are you going to coordinate these showings? Are you going to set a time frame? Obviously, the more time that someone's able to schedule showing, the more likely you're going to have more showings. So
Yeah, and a lot of people are free, and I mean, the truth is, people are free in the evenings. You know what? It honestly happens. Showings happen throughout the day. It
yeah,
happens all over the
more on the
place.
weekends.
On the weekends, a ton. This is one of those things that, yeah, when we were asking, can it be done without a property manager or a realtor? It's like yes, but it's like a lot of this. I mean, some of it is about expertise and know-how, and some of it is just about doing the work. I mean,
Yeah,
showings is one where just like it's just a time commitment
yeah.
potentially. Even just answering the phone call to schedule the showing if you're going to have tenant app with or an applicant or a person showing it with their own agent, you still have to let them in or make
Yeah.
sure they understand how to get in.
And I recommend doing a little bit of pre-screening on here. You really want to make sure you prevent fraud or any scammers that, unfortunately that does exist here. If they're a realtor, make sure you get their Trek ID, find a way to verify that if you're not a realtor. To allow self-access showings with non-realtors, make sure you get their ID, ask some qualifying questions. You want to be really careful here.
So now, yeah, getting into just screening in
Yeah.
general. I mean, there's pre-screening to even make sure the people who come see the home are generally qualified in a broad sense, meaning they'll meet your general credit score and income. You don't want to waste anybody's time. But once now you got someone who's actually going to apply for the home, you gotta how do you screen them? And this is one where it's I guess there's different categories. You're talking about expertise versus kind of no versus just roll up your sleeves and do the work. In terms of categories, this is an expertise one, I would say. I mean, in an experience one, I mean, how comfortable are you making sure that these residents are going to be the type of residents that you want living in your home? There's a wide range of things that can happen, and some of them are frankly impossible to prevent, but you want to screen folks as thoroughly as possible. And there's different systems and softwares out there to help you do that. Obviously, you're going to run credit checks and run background reports, verify with their previous landlords about how they were when they were living there. You want to verify with their employers. And then there's more sophisticated tools where, we have a tool where we get actually read-only access into their bank account. They say they work at Starbucks or, Citibank or something. You're seeing that paycheck come in every 2 weeks. That's not like a pay stub. The pay stub is highly manipulatable. And
Mhm.
so we get that read access only to the bank account. It's been a great fraud prevention tool.
So I'm sure there's application softwares out there that you could find yourself to help assist with this. You want to be extremely careful with fair housing laws, and so I recommend creating a approval criteria before an application even
Yeah,
comes through the door. So
definitely.
what's the minimum credit score you're gonna allow? What's the monthly or annual income that they have to meet in order to rent out your property based on your rental amount that your house is going to be rented out for? Very delicate situation with the fair housing laws. And
Definitely, yeah, you wanna have that written out and then stick to it,
yeah.
and you don't wanna deviate from that. There is liability around fair housing and things. Okay, so let's say we've found perfect people to come live in the home, residents to come move in. We've accepted them. Obviously, there's the lease preparation. You wanna that's a whole other topic, I guess. Make sure you have a good lease. The state of Texas does provide a standard lease template that's honestly pretty strong. We were lucky. There's a very good and active network in Texas with the Texas Real Estate Commission and Texas Association of Realtors that puts out a promulgated form. So the lease is pretty good. We have put an addendum in place that's like an extra 7 or 8 pages to just strengthen some components of it. But you can maybe speak with a lawyer or just do some research yourself if you want to add some things to that lease. So putting that lease together, having them sign the lease, making sure it's airtight and you're in good condition on that. Now they're moving in. So, things happen. It's moving day. There's a moving truck. There's moving parts basically. So just this is one of those things like moving in and just the day to day. Now you got someone living in this home. They're going to have your cell phone. So we're just talking about the communication and coordination piece of just having someone living in your home.
Yeah, make sure you have all phone numbers, emails of all the leaseholders that are above 18 years old. You could ask them what's their preferred method of communication on move-in day. I would recommend it's in person or on the phone. You really want to be communicating a ton, especially on move-in day, but also the first couple months of the resident living in the home. You want to establish that relationship and have just build that goodwill between you and the resident.
Definitely. Yeah, you wanna set the tone, it is common sense. You wanna just set the tone in a positive way. And also don't get frustrated. I would say we have to, talk about this sometimes with whoever did the make ready or whatever property whatever the condition you feel the property is in. Oftentimes when people move in, they're gonna find a thing or two that you didn't expect or kind of is like, "Really? Okay." That happens. People use the home in different ways and, find things that you might not have thought about. So just be prepared for that. That is almost whether you have a property manager or not, it's just something to be aware of. When
Yeah.
people move in, there's often a little bit of back and forth in the first, you know, few weeks.
And put this into your lease. Also, you want to make sure you tell the resident how they could submit a maintenance request. Is it texting you? Is it a portal that through a software you're using? Is it texting your maintenance vendor that you like? I wouldn't recommend that because I think the communication should go to you as the owner so that you could coordinate and oversee that.
Definitely.
How do you want the rent money to come in? Is it Zelle, Venmo? Is it a portal you've created? No matter what, remember rental income is taxable. And so remember that at the end of the year as well. So you got to make sure you're keeping track of all the money you're bringing in, your expenses. Yeah,
Yeah, the
I'd make
accounting
sure to,
side, I guess,
yeah,
is
the accounting
yeah.
side, but lay out all that, the ways that they're supposed to submit maintenance requests and pay rent, put that in the lease up front.
I guess that's just a general theme that lease, you want to capture as much of your expectations and requirements in that lease so it's all in writing upfront.
Mhm.
Like we said, the Texas one is pretty good. If there's things that aren't in there, you want to make sure that you add them in there. I think you mentioned some good ones, how to pay and how to submit maintenance requests, things like that. So now you got someone in, they've moved in, there's communication involved, so that's one of those things where it's just, just be ready to communicate. That's something that will be happening. You'll be speaking with these folks, and hopefully you've got a good positive relationship. And there's great people who live in our homes, and we've become friends with some of them, and they're just like, we have a really strong. It's much better when you have a good relationship. It doesn't always happen, but
And just one overall takeaway is, you treat your property well by getting it ready for these residents. They in return are going to treat it well, and that's the perspective we've always had. It's just, give them a quality product up front, and they're going to take care of that property as well.
big time. Yeah, it's very obvious when like people can sense that you care about the home, you're taking care of the home, they live in the home, they're gonna reciprocate that and take care of the home on your behalf. It's just really how you want to set that tone. Okay, so now they're living, you got someone living in your home, you gotta collect the rent. We talked a little bit about that. Hopefully these you found great people up front, so you just the rent's coming in on the first of the month. We live in the real world. You should be aware rent might not be paid on time. Rent there might be a change in their life. Ideally, these are folks who are going to stay in your home for many years. Maybe you screen them, everything was perfect in their life, and they had a great situation, and something changed in 2 years down the road. So you just have to have some contingency and have at least some awareness that things can go a little bit south on the rent collection. We have a program in place to help handle that and set up payment plans, but just be aware you might need to set up some payment plans or something. This is again something that you'll be wanting to put in writing. Don't like to say the E word, but it's better to be prepared than not. Just know that if you do have to, if things go really south, hope this does not happen to you. It's not very super common, if you do the screening right, but you might have to go through, if an eviction happens, there's third party services that you can use. Some are better than others, let you do your own research, but probably you're gonna just hire a third party eviction company. And don't need to go too much into detail on that.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Well,
We've been there, but yeah, it's just something to be aware of as a potential.
well, just like your screening criteria should be pre-considered before an application comes in the door, your whole eviction process and collections process and payment plan should be thought out before this ever happens. And part of it should be in the lease.
Yeah.
So, say rent is due on the first, how many grace days are you going to provide? This definitely needs to be in the lease until late fees kick in. Is it the third, fourth, fifth? There's some legal laws you need to look into this, but say it's on the fourth. Okay, then what percent of late fees kick in on that day? And then when do you send a 3-day notice? When do you try to create a payment plan? Or when do you move towards eviction? So you really want to think through that whole process and make sure you're following the law
Yeah.
before that ever happens.
And again, if you're considering, can I do this? Can I not do this? You can. I mean, can you do this? You can.
Go to the eviction court.
Yeah, you can go to eviction court yourself. Yeah, people do. I mean, you can figure a lot of this out. Obviously, there's AI. You can talk to it and come up with some ways to figure this out. It's that balance also between just like there's an expertise and a knowledge thing, and there's just a rolling up your sleeves and doing it. So
Mhm.
some of this you just got to roll up your sleeves and do it. And then I think another big one that we haven't really even touched on, which is probably maybe the main topic that people would think of when they're considering renting their house or managing their own home or not, is just maintenance. I mean, we've talked about kind of just like, okay, the move in and there's some maybe maintenance in those first few weeks, but maintenance can happen anytime. And I don't think, this isn't news to anyone. I think this is the most common sense piece of this whole thing is, maintenance can happen at Wednesday at midnight. There's a clogged sink and it's overflowing, things happen. I mean, we've all lived in homes, we've all rented homes or bought homes or, wherever we've lived for our life, things happen in these homes and it's just an eventuality. And so it might not happen at midnight on Sunday night, but it might happen during the day. But I mean, I don't, in some ways, it's worse. It happens at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're in the middle of work
You
or
might be
whatever.
working.
You might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure this is probably the main thing you're thinking of, and if you're thinking of managing a rental home yourself. But maintenance is a real consideration. So just being available to court. I guess I'm talking mostly about just coordinating it, but there's also just executing it and making sure you're doing it right.
Yeah. And yes, the house is rented as is per the lease, but things happen and you have to evaluate the urgency and have trusted vendors that can handle those issues. Or if you're a handy person, you could, of course, do it yourself, like we mentioned. And then there's also troubleshooting, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
saves everyone time and money if you could troubleshoot with the resident, walk through the issue that they're facing, maybe FaceTime them,
Yep.
and some common issues there: garbage disposal, flipping a breaker, toilet plunging,
Yeah, just
certain
yeah,
things.
basic, yeah, definitely. A little bit of Drano, and let's call me back in 30 minutes,
Try it.
and we certainly try. I mean, yeah, troubleshooting will avoid some headaches for sure.
Turning off the water if there's a leak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a big one you gotta make sure, and that's another one that should be in the lease.
Yeah,
If there's ever a water leak, they need to know where the main water valve is and be able to turn it off right away, because that can be tens of thousands of dollars of damage if that's not done. But
yeah,
I mean, that's easy enough to do and say. Yeah, there gets to be a lot, I mean, I would say, but there's a reason we exist. But again, maintenance, if you're relatively handy, if you're relatively available, if you have strong connections to contractors and trusted folks who to help with some of the issues that might arise, then yeah, it's something that can be done. I mean, you can
definitely.
take the calls, you can coordinate, you can go there yourself.
And it's also with one property, yeah, it can be done. Two properties, yeah, it could be done. If you're trying to grow a portfolio and it gets overwhelming, or even if it gets overwhelming at one property, there's property management companies always available to help you out. So you could always start off, give it a try, and
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, it's I think, yeah, we've been saying it this whole time. There's knowledge and experience and expertise, and there's also just like rolling up your sleeves and doing the work. And it's sometimes it's hard to know whether or not you can do it unless you try. So maybe try it. Or if it sounds like too much of a headache, there's property managers. We are one of those. I mean, when you start going down the list, and just in general, I mean, we do stand by what we do. I mean, I just genuinely feel like we provide a pretty solid value. I mean, we really do take all of these things into consideration. We do have expertise and experience, and it's actually just like not that much to hire a property manager. You get a single point of contact, and we take a lot of this off your plate, which is why the industry exists. And, so it's a personal decision. It's something that, you can think about and do your own homework on. We just wanted to talk a little bit and just like create a dialogue about like what are the pros and cons, or like what are the things that you should consider. And honestly, I mean, if you want to talk more about this with us, we genuinely want you to do what's right for you. So, property management is right for a lot of people. Some people can do it.
Mhm.
So if you want to talk more about this, have a conversation, if you're wrestling with this, we want to steer you in the right direction for you. We don't want you to hire us if you're kind of in the back of your mind thinking you can do it yourself. We will encourage you to do that, and or we will help you try to come to the right decision for you. I think that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to ever have a conversation, even if it's just a question about you self managing it, or potentially us, providing a quote, whatever the question may be, you can always visit us at shannonpropertymanagement.com.
And you may or may not speak with our mom. So, we're a family business. You may speak with one of us. You may speak with one of our property managers. But we're based right here in Houston, Texas. All we do is manage single family homes in Houston. Our mission, we say we're Shannon Property Management. We're SPM. You've seen it on our website. We try to provide stability and peace of mind. So that is our goal. And whether that's, you can find that by managing it yourself or by hiring a property manager, that's what we want to be a result. So
Day in, day out, all we do is manage long-term single-family houses, so 12 months or longer, vacant properties. If you're experiencing an issue, we've probably seen it before. We have the experience, and so we'd be happy to help, and we're here if you need us. Thank you.
take care.